From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Florida State not only getting it done on the field in football, but also the classroom. Is there some sort of correlation? NIL in high school, what? Preseason polls not giving Florida State enough credit, ? And an awesome interview with who should be maybe your favorite baseball player now, Marco Dinges. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Corey.
Warchant BOGO.
I'm just going to make you do that for like the first week. I
keep forgetting you're going to do that, and then it surprises me there. I think I adapt quickly, but it's tough out of the gate to do that.
It's like you're getting a sip of water. You're like, all right, Aslan's about to intro the show, but then I'm like, boom, get back in the firefight.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WordChampBOGO. Buy one, get one free. Extra strength varieties out there, everybody. Maybe 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine is not enough for you. That's fine. We don't judge on this show. Try the extra strength. It also has 260 milligrams of all natural caffeine, but it also has about 44 milligrams of green tea extract and another 260 milligrams of L-carnitine. So if that don't get you motoring on an early June day, I don't know what will. Give it a shot. Shake it and take it. Try it. You'll like it. VitaminEnergy.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. 5-star rating and review, please. Darn it, Corey, I meant to have a review up to see if we have any good reviews out there lately on the podcast app. But we see folks in the thumbs up on YouTube. Appreciate that. Do it all the time. Like it, unlike it, like it again. Subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Do all the tricks of the trade, everybody out there. Corey Clark's in the house, everybody. Corey, how are you, Corey?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you for asking.
All right. Really? I mean, should you expound? What's going on? You don't sound like you're doing great. You miss your wife?
Yeah, I do. I'm longing for Steph. No, I actually saw her yesterday. She was up in Atlanta with her daughter for a couple days, so that was cool.
She toured any colleges, Steph's daughter? Check out any schools, or just are we melding the families together? Is this part of it, piece by piece?
Yeah, just part of that. And I don't know how much I should delve into her personal life, but she wasn't up here visiting colleges, but she is a potential college swimmer. So she's getting phone calls from colleges about perhaps joining their swim team.
That's awesome.
So that's fun. Yeah. Can't wait for those calls for Brady.
I'm saying.
One of these days. But, yeah, no, it was just a long day. Just a long day. Went out with Brady, hit a little bit, trying to get the swing figured back out, dialed back in, and it was hot. It's hot in Atlanta, so it kind of sapped me of energy. Plus, I did my normal workout, 3-mile run. It's just what I do.
Is that why they call it Hotlanta?
It's one of the reasons, that and the attractiveness of the people that live here.
Oh, really? All right,
yeah.
Maybe I should move up there. Try my luck up there.
Yeah, Tallahassee is known for just having uggos everywhere.
I did not say that. Thanks for being here, everybody. We got not a jam-packed show, but we just got a nice, healthy, balanced show for you. End of it will be an interview with Corey and I with Marco Dinges, who I'm sure everybody by now has drafted their favorite Florida State baseball player at this point in the game, Corey. But if anybody out there is a free agent, I think Marco might be your pick, everybody.
What a story, huh?
Incredible.
We won't spoil it, but I had no idea about any of it. But he's had a pretty remarkable journey just in the last 13 months. Yeah. It's been a pretty crazy journey for him.
So he and the Noles, they'll be taking on UConn. We can maybe touch a little on that when we intro the interview in the second part of the show. Let's talk a little football, Corey. Let's force it into tight windows. Let's talk about quarterbacks. And it's a little bit of a half-baked, I don't even know if it's a theory, but just, words coming out of my mouth, and then you...
Hey, can I commandeer real quick just for a second?
Sure,
I'm gonna wrestle it away from you. I know it's not something that we talk about a lot. We probably should more than we do.
WNBA?
Right, correct. The fake moon landing. The APR scores.
Oh, okay.
So those came out on Tuesday, and Florida State the football team had its highest ever. And Mike Norvell got a $100,000 bonus for it. So good on you, Mike. Throw that at the battle's end and go get you some more smart kids to play for you. But, I just think I know sometimes, especially you can be the eye-rolling guy when it comes to stuff like this.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think about 4 years ago when he took over? It was the lowest in the history of the program. Now, within 4 years, it's the highest. I know he could have a bunch of honor students, future doctors on his team, and if he's not winning games, it does not matter. I get it. But he is winning games, and I do think there is a little bit of a correlation, man. Not a ton, because clearly Jimbo's teams were great, a few of them, and class didn't mean a whole lot to some of those kids and him, but they were great. But I do think it's part of his overall message, right, that everything matters, on the field, off the field, in the community. In them getting a high score on the APR is just another example. Smaller example, because I know, again, this isn't a GPA show. This is not an academic show. It is a football show. It's a sports show. So this matters not much in the grand scheme of what we all care about. But I do think it's noteworthy, at least, that they had the highest APR score in the program's history.
You know, we used to have a forum on warchant.com that was just about Florida State academics.
Really?
It was awesome, too. And I don't know what happened to it, but there was people that would go into it, and it was great. Like, you would see all the kind of how the sausage is being made and getting everything funded and where we ranked and whatnot. But
all right. I thought you meant like people giving each other notes from class or something.
Oh, no, we wouldn't do that.
Or don't take Professor Smith's class. He's an ogre or something like that. I didn't know. It was just more celebrating the academics.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah. No, I mean, to your point, I mean, ideally, this is how it all works. Like, you get good dudes. You have a vision, you have support staff that gets everybody aligned, and then you have kids that graduate. And I guess I think Leonard was was he a perfect 1,000 out of 1,000 on the scores? I think like basketball had a really high APR
really?
as well too.
Go fact check that.
Yeah, I should, because it's crazy, because obviously all the transfers and stuff affect a little bit of that. But yeah, I'm not gonna poo-poo on it, but I get what you're saying. I mean, he is so regimented, so disciplined, so focused, Mike Norvell, on creating this winning machine here. And then part of it's, like, you got to be a decent human being. You got to go to class. You got to do all the right things. And they're winning football games. And Are they winning football games because they're really talented, or is it because they're buckling down their studies? I mean, maybe some of it goes hand in hand. But yes, ideally, I would love for it to be this way. But if I had to choose, though, I'd take a 964 APR and a national championship. But
I think, well, hopefully you can have both. I think what it goes to, though, it's not like they're winning games because they're good students, but like what they do in the classroom doesn't really impact what they do on a scoreboard, but it does say something for the overall character is not the word I'm looking for. Attention to detail.
Culture.
Yeah, culture, sure, but the attention to detail in making everything matter. That is a part of this program now. It's just something else to celebrate. Again, it's not like having 5 kids drafted in the first round, but it's something else to celebrate, and it's a neat accomplishment from where they came from. I mean, it's the biggest turnaround is the 2020 football season until now. What they've done on the football field. Well, they're doing it in the classroom too, and I think they coincide. Like, I think there's a correlation there. You get good kids that aren't knuckleheads, that do care about things other than football. They do care about why they're here. That's preached to them. That message is constant with this head coach and his coaching staff, and it matters to them. Now, they get a lot of support, too, so kudos to the support staff and everybody in the academic support staff for Florida State football. But I just think it shows that it matters to Norvell. This is not an accident. They did not just happen to stumble upon the smartest crew of Florida State football players in history by a wide margin. Right. It's something they hammer home, and it matters to them. And I think that says something about the type of kids they have. That's the correlation where it comes from. That attention to detail, the fact that they do care about it, says they're mature, says they have a balanced life, they have a good head on their shoulders, and they're guys you can probably trust on a football field too.
Can I say something cynical, or should we just move on?
How cynical is it?
Being able to do a lot of your classes online these days, I wonder how much that affects things.
Oh, sure. I don't think that's cynical. I think that's a legitimate question. But
again, I don't think it would have been much better under Jimbo. But nowadays, I mean, I know guys like Joe Burrow, when he transferred to LSU, like he took like one class online, I think, and I'm sure that probably helped boost their APR too. But no, I guess where the really cynical thing would be is just, man, that 2023 season, I don't want to look back too much. I want to keep looking ahead because everybody gets upset, and rightfully so when you look back at that team. But again, man, the caliber of dudes he brought here in terms of what they were as football players, what they were as young men.
Right.
Now, you really, again, like he's got his fit. It's all about evaluation.
And who they
fit.
recruit, right? The guys they recruit from high school. It seems like we get to talk to all these guys. None of them seem like they just all seem
characters.
Like they do. They don't. They just seem like level-headed, bright young men that are happy to be at Florida State. It's a cool program right now to cover.
Yeah. I just hope you can continue to compile that right mix of, talented football player and scholar, part of the scholar athlete. I just feel a little bit like, you got robbed last year,
It is funny. I wonder what Norvell's bonus was. I should know. I don't. What was his bonus for them winning the ACC?
Probably 200, I want to say.
I feel like it was more than that. All his bonuses from last season, like getting into a bowl game, the BCS bowl game, winning the ACC, I feel like there were some clauses in that contract where incentives where he got a lot of money for it. And meanwhile, this was $100,000, which is not chump change by any stretch. But I can guarantee you he got more money for what they did on the football field than what they did in the classroom, which is, how the world works.
Yeah, I can't. I'm looking in our Warchant Google Drive, and I can't.
Well, you move on. I'll try to find it.
Well, I can't find the updated one. So I can look at the one that he signed originally from 2019 if we're into
No, I mean just you look at the contract. I'm just going to Google it.
So conference championship game appearance, $100,000, game win $250.
So you only get $350.
But no, you can only get a maximum of $250. So you give up the appearance by winning. Coach of the year, if you get national coach of the year, you get $100,000.
Okay.
APR above 990, $150,000. You can max out at $200,000 because if you get them to 1,000. You would get that. So, yeah, there you go. That was 2019. Who knows, man? $1 took you a lot further back then than it does now, so maybe they adjusted that in the most recent.
Yeah, so I was wrong. He actually got $150,000. So, Mike, all that needs to go to the Battle's End. Yeah. Send some to Rising Spear or whoever you will. You don't need to keep all that. Or give it to your players.
What about Lincoln? What about Lincoln High? They can have NIL now. Maybe let's get Lincoln back to a powerhouse program, keep all our kids in Tallahassee.
I'm glad you brought that up, Aslan. So you tell me so for those that don't know, Florida signed into law, I guess or the FHSA I don't know if there's two.
There's two, yeah. Athletic Association.
If they voted almost unanimously or was unanimously to have high schools in the state of Florida be able to use NIL money for their athletes.
Can't you guys in Georgia? We're behind the curve. I think 30 other states already done so.
No, this is not a commentary on the Florida being dumb. Yeah. It's just a commentary on this idea itself. How many,
Listen, I was best friends with guys that were awesome at sports. They went and played Division I football. If they got an NIL deal with a T-shirt company to advertise something, I would not buy the T-shirt. I would not buy my best friend's face on a T-shirt. Who's going to buy Tommy Smith, high school quarterback, branded T-shirt and apparel?
But also,
nobody.
Who benefits from paying them? Okay, let's say now. Look, there's 10 or 12 players in football in the state of Florida that if you brought them to your team, they would immediately change the success of your team. But if you're not a very good football team and you go get the number one quarterback in the state of Florida and offer him, I don't know, $100,000, Mike Norvell's bonus. Oh, great! You brought a quarterback with you. How much money is that making the high school?
Right.
Is the high school all of a sudden going to sell out all its games, and is it going to be on TV, and is it going to have a new licensing deal with Nike? And that's maybe the answer.
And I don't know the appetite for people in here to have their alma mater in high school win either.
It's not. It's just who is this for? Yeah. It's I've always thought college football players, ever since coaches started making millions of dollars, college football players have been exploited. I don't know how else to say it. They have made no money while everybody around them, including ADs, associate ADs, assistant ADs, associate to the associate ADs, have all made hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. They've made nothing. So now they're getting the cut of the pie. That's fine. Florida high school coaches make nothing.
Like a $5,000 stipend, I think.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that's what, nobody, they're not being exploited. You play high school sports. If you're awesome, go to IMG. And you can, maybe they can pay you, but they're good enough without you. I just don't know what the landscape is for and that's not just Florida, what the landscape is, what the appetite is for paying high school players to come win some football games for you in front of a bunch of mostly disinterested high school students, if they're even there. Odd, especially in the state of Florida. Like in Georgia, and I'm not trying to start a border war here, but I've covered high school football in Valdosta, Thomasville, like these the places where it really matters, and they do sell out.
Yeah, Mississippi, I'm with you. Yeah.
I don't know that it happens a lot in Florida.
Does not.
I was just making sure. From my look of things, when I did cover preps in Florida and in Tallahassee, I was amazed at the lack of people that were at these games. And now let's make sure these kids get paid because they bring no additional value to the school itself.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
hey,
we had our one year rival game that we'd pack out the stadium, but otherwise, not really. I mean, I'm sure Lincoln and Leon play, but they don't even play on campus, so. They play neutral site, Gene Cox Stadium or whatever.
Gene Cox, baby.
But yeah, Mississippi would get after it. I remember being at those high schools. I'm like, my gosh. I'm like, this is like a FCS level facility. I mean, field turf, replay board, 2-story field house. Our gym was, in our high school, was probably a quarter the size of your average Anytime Fitness. I mean, we had nothing.
So, and that's what's the thing about Florida that's crazy. Because, I was in South Georgia where I covered high school sports. They have some – and this was 15, 20 years ago. Well, longer than that. So, look, I might be speaking out of my you-know-what, but in Georgia, I know the booster clubs would pay the coaches. They'd get them trucks. They'd make tens of thousands of dollars extra, $50,000, $60,000 to be the high school coach. That's why Rush Probst was perfectly fine coaching in Georgia. And he coached in Alabama. Some of those schools have huge booster clubs where they will pay the coach a lot of money to be a head football coach. It does matter. That they bring in revenue. That does not appear to happen in Florida. Again, I know we have high school football coaches that listen to this show. Maybe I'm wrong and things have changed, but I don't think so. I don't think high school coaches in the state of Florida get paid very well at all. It is just like a stipend. And, so it's going to be really hard for them to pay kids more than they make. Yeah. But who knows? But just it's a new world order.
If Luke Kromenhoek, last year dropped a T-shirt line, how much of those is he really selling? I mean, I know I get it. Maybe that's not the point. He should just have the opportunity to do so.
Well, yeah.
But
there's 50 of those guys. I don't know that I could. And this probably isn't something I should say out loud. I don't know.
Do it.
I don't know that if any of the commitments to Florida State right now, the guys that have committed for the class of 25,
all 4 of them, by the way,
knocked on my door, I wouldn't know who they were. Who does? Other than you weirdos that are all over the recruiting boards. I'm just kidding.
And pay our salaries.
I know that was a joke. I was one of those guys back in the day.
Same.
So I get it. I completely understand it. But I don't think there's a lot of. They are not household names. They are not household names. They can't sell anything, and they also don't bring a lot of money. Like Jordan Travis brought a lot of money to Florida State University. Yeah. Just did. I don't know that if he would have transferred schools his senior year down in West Palm, he would have brought an extra $20 to whatever school he went to.
I think I saw On3 tweeted out, which, by the way, I was at the On3 Elite Recruiting event, and there were a lot of people with this slip of paper they gave out to some folks with headshots of everybody so you could identify the recruit. So,
oh, nice. That's a good idea.
People that have to cover recruiting for a living also needed a cheat sheet to look and identify these kids. So
it's a lot of them.
I get your point. But I think I saw the On3 corporate account tweet out a photo of Jamie French, I think, and then a Ventrell. His name escapes me. I spoke to him a week ago. We were best buds. I've already forgotten about it. But he's being recruited by Florida State. And I guess American Eagle, the apparel company that was I don't know, a poor man's Abercrombie and Fitch, at least when I was in high school, already went ahead and signed those 2 guys to an NIL deal. and it's like a photo of them like modeling, like a professionally shot photo of them like modeling, I guess, American Eagle apparel, which whatever, that is name, image, and likeness. I get it, yeah, but also I don't think 17-year-old Aslan would have went and started buying, but again, maybe kids are different now. Maybe they look up to their peers in a way where it's like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, yeah, that's a really cool shirt. I want to wear that too. I was just a hater. I'm like, I'm not wearing that. You already have that. Like, I want my own thing.
We're the same age. I'm not wearing your gear, man. What are you, crazy? I do think going back to the competition aspect of it or the revenue aspect of it, it could absolutely help in basketball. Like if you could get one of these giant public schools, instead of all these great basketball players going to Oak Hill or IMG or wherever it was that Scotty Barnes went, they're always awesome.
Montverde?
If you could go tell a Scotty Barnes, hey, man, come to Lincoln and be our starting point guard at Lincoln. Now, the attention because it's basketball, it's closer. You get to see guys that for sure will be in the NBA in a year or two. I've had the pleasure of covering guys like that were super-duper stars on the high school level, and it will sell out a gym quickly.
Oh,
you can make money that way.
Yeah.
I don't foresee it being a huge deal in football because it's one player, unless it's an incredible quarterback, Lamar Jackson. There's 22 other guys out there, so they don't have as much of an impact.
21 other guys.
You're right. Well, unless you're cheating. If
you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Yeah, I guess we'll see just how consequential it could possibly be. I mean, I guess the only really reason to go ahead and push this is that you don't want to lose kids to going across state lines to get it. But again, I don't know how much of it's out there. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all goes. Anyhow, thought that I had, Corey, is some of these preseason lists come out. And I think one of the guys from On3, Jesse Simonton, if I'm not mistaken, released a preseason top or like a post-spring, post-portal closing top 25. And Florida State, I think, was like number 9, which I think is fair. And I don't think anybody was upset about it. And seemingly Ohio State is kind of this preseason darling, and I guess for fairly good reason. They've got Chip Kelly now as their OC. They brought in Will Howard from Kansas State to be their quarterback. They went ahead and got Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, who ran for gobs of yards the last 2 years. And they already had Travion Henderson. They got Emeka Ibuka, who had a 1,200-yard receiving season 2 years ago. And then they got Jeremiah Smith on top of that. They've got both their defensive ends coming back, and the JT Tumiola is like one of the best edge rushers. Like they've got some pieces, but like looking at their roster, it's not overwhelmingly, revenge tour 2024, which is what I kind of thought they were going to do when they hired Bill O'Brien and went after Judkins and things like that. I wonder. I'm like, what are they going to do offensively? Like they've got Ibuka back. They got Jeremiah Smith. He's a true freshman, so I don't know just how potent they're going to be out wide. I know they still have Brian Hartline there.
Are we doing our 2024 college football playoff preview?
Kind of.
Like it. Okay.
Not really. Just, I'm getting there. Promise.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But like looking at it on the surface, talented team. Michigan probably going to take a step back, so you figure they'll kind of fill the vacuum there in the Big Ten, even though there's some new talent in there. But like you look at Florida State's roster. DJ ran out of Clemson for winning 10 games. They won 11 in 2022, and then he goes to Oregon State and wins 10 games last season. Meanwhile, Clemson only won 9 games once he left. Will Howard, won 10 games 2 seasons ago, got throttled by Alabama in the bowl game. They only won 9 games last year. You look at PFF, Howard graded out at 78 last year. DJ graded out at 82. If you want to go back 2 seasons, Howard graded out at 75. DJ graded out at 79. Howard does not have a much better completion percentage than DJ either. So I wonder what is so overwhelmingly better about a team like Ohio State. And I don't really want to just I'm just using them kind of as the example, but like, why isn't Florida State with DJ Uiagalelei a more appealing national story to you, Corey, do you think, than a school like Ohio State? Is it because of all the other ancillary stuff being added around him and the other portal pieces this year for Florida State aren't as sexy?
Maybe. I mean, they're not as well known. They didn't get a Caleb Downs, and they didn't get the number 1 wide receiver in the country and a guy that's supposedly one of the best high school wide receivers of all time. So I think that has something to do with it. Like when you get the number 1 safety in the country that people think is a top 10 pick, transferring to you after being awesome in Alabama as a true freshman, that's going to get you some eyeballs. And it's also Ohio State, man. They've earned the benefit of the doubt. Like, just like Georgia. Georgia's got a lot of holes to fill, but we're going to go ahead and assume Kirby's recruited pretty well, and evaluated pretty well, and developed pretty well, and they will be able to fill those shoes. And that's kind of been the case at Ohio State now for 10 to 12 years, that they're always good. Sometimes great, but always good. So that's why they get the benefit of the doubt. I think that's all it is. But the point here, I think, is that just like last year, just like for the rest of our natural lives, there isn't going to be a dominant, unbelievable, outstanding, no doubt best team in the country. There just isn't. Like, Michigan had moments where they looked great last year, but they also struggled. They also didn't look great at times. They didn't dominate and overwhelm teams. They almost lost to a 3-loss Alabama team. I mean, well, was it just a 2-loss Alabama
other than
team?
99 Florida State, they had a couple close calls.
They had a lot of close calls. Yeah, Georgia Tech. There was Clemson. There was Florida. I mean, yeah, they had a lot of close calls.
I mean,
they were trailing
13 Florida State, 19 LSU. Those are the anomalies, right?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
Alabama, like those are the anomalies.
But that's what I'm saying. So when you look around the landscape of college football and what it is now, like, man, there are literally, I think, Aslan, when we start this football season on August 24th in Dublin, Ireland, I think there are potentially 30 teams that can make the playoff if things break right. Because
crazy.
literally, like, we never know who's going to win 9 games in one of these big conferences. We just don't. Like, it could be Ole Miss, could be Arkansas. Obviously, it's probably not going to be Arkansas. But there's probably, 7 or 8 or 9 SEC teams that if they get to 9 wins, they're in. And there's a potential for all of them. Same with the Big Ten. But there's no dominant ones. Other than Georgia, probably, they're always going to be good. There's nobody you look at and go, absolutely, that roster is just too good. It's too much firepower there. Can't compete with it. Florida State is now in that conversation where they're one of those 25 to 30 teams that have a realistic shot, if things break right and they have a good year, of being one of the top 12 teams in the country. How many times do we see these teams that are unranked to start the season end up working their way up to number 6 or 4? Well, if you do that now, you're in a playoff. So, yeah, I just think that's where we are now, where there are so many programs around the country that legitimately have a shot to play for a national championship. Now, most of them reside in 2 conferences, which is a bad thing, but that is the truth, right? I mean, we could list them. Florida State, Clemson, Miami. I think those 3 have a legitimate shot at making the playoff.
Louisville?
I guess, yeah, because they've had he's a good coach.
Although they've lost. I mean, a lot of those guys they got in January, they've already lost. Like, they lost that running back. They lost
the one to Miami, right?
Yeah, they lost Tyler Barron. Yeah, they lost him, yeah.
And other than, like, Vanderbilt, you can say every team in the SEC starts out the season with that is what they think is an attainable goal. Let's win our division. Let's win 9 games. They're going to put us in the dance. And I would think almost every team in the SEC at some point in the last 10 years has won 9 games in a season.
Well, are we going divisionless now? Are we all divisionless?
Yeah, they are. I didn't mean division. I meant conference. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I bet you could tick off every single team in the SEC, and they've all had one 9-win season in the last decade. Well, then they're on the cusp of being in the playoff, right? Because they're in that conference. Big Ten, same thing. So now you're talking about all these programs that have legitimate life, but the good news is it has been diluted. Now, we'll see what happens in 5 years when they're making all the money, but it's been diluted enough, the talent in this country, that there's 10 other teams that have a shot to get in the playoff. Florida State being one of them, even though they lost what they lost. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm not even answering your question. I'm just trying to force the football. That's what we do here before we talk about UConn baseball. But yeah, I think that's what's cool about the current incarnation of college football is that starting in August, legitimately probably a third of the country, and it's the programs in this country, have a legit shot to be one of the top 12 at the end of the year.
Yeah. Man, you're not wrong. Just looking at some of these schools, I think it all comes down to like quarterback play. But I say that, and I look at Will Howard compared to DJ, and it's not considerably better. So the only thing is they do have a more proven, at least receiver, singular. I mean, what Emeka Ibuka did 2 years ago, no one in Florida State has done anything even close to that in their time in Tallahassee. Their running backs, for as much as everybody wants to love this running back room, I mean, Ohio State's running back room, in terms of what they've accomplished, not potential, but what they've accomplished, far exceeds what Florida State has done.
Yeah,
I like Peyton and Jones more than I like JT and Jack Sawyer.
Sure.
But I do like Caleb Downs more than I like our guy Shaheem Brown. But I don't care about linebackers, and nobody cares about linebackers.
But I think when you start this season, I think there are. If I was betting on teams to make the playoff, just betting on their futures,
Ohio State's
making the playoff,
yeah.
Ohio State and Georgia are the only two where I would put a sizable amount of. Now, I'm not going to get a great return because they're huge favorites to do it, but those are locks to me. Because of what they've done in that conference. I could be wrong. Ohio State could have a down year. Georgia, I think, is a lock. I think Ohio State is a lock because if they get to 10 wins, each of those teams, they are in the playoff. Guaranteed. Right. And I think both of them will get to 10 wins. But other than that, we have no idea what Michigan and Alabama are going to be. And they played, I don't know if you remember, Aslan, they played maybe the greatest college football playoff game of all time just in last December.
It was a good game. It wasn't a bad game.
I mean, it was an exciting ending.
Yeah.
It was boring for about 2.5 hours, because Milroe doesn't complete forward passes, but it was exciting at the end. It was very exciting at the end, but it was boring for 2.5 hours. But I don't know what they're going to be. No clue. Yeah. They literally, both of them could be 7-win teams. Yeah. That would surprise me less than if both of them go undefeated. I would think they have a much better chance of being 7-5 than undefeated.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
well, that's the world we're living in.
Yeah.
When's the last time we could say that about Alabama?
Yeah.
In Michigan with Harbaugh the last 3 or 4 years, they've been good, really good. And now Washington, Michigan, like all those playoff teams, are theoretically going to take a major step back. Florida State, with the talent, top-end talent, is probably taking a step back, but not a huge step back. It's not a leap back. And they're going to be right there in the conversation, I think, if they stay healthy.
Yeah. Looking at this list, Georgia's 1. It's like, all right, Carson Beck. Ohio State's 2.
Yep.
Will Howard. Quinn Ewers. Texas, they're 3. I mean, Jalen Milroe, and I guess you just figure Alabama's got residual Saban magic left over in that cupboard. Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, 5. Like Ole Miss, Jackson Dart is their starting quarterback, I guess, year 3, 6th. Michigan, 7 to me is a crazy one. Notre Dame, they got Riley Leonard. And then, you got Florida State at number 9. So maybe when you look at it
that
way.
Hey, Riley Leonard's still there? Oh, no, he's the Duke kid.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Sam Hartman. My bad.
Yeah. I think Cam Rising is back at Utah.
Of course he is.
They're ranked 11th.
He's a player coach, right?
Yeah. Tennessee's got that 5-star kid they paid a whole bunch, Nico, and they're 14th. Cam Ward, again, I think probably 9 out of 10 evaluators think he's a better quarterback than DJ Uiagalelei. Miami's ranked 15th. So that's like the weird thing to me. It's like, all right, I can understand if you think quarterback, if you're just going to make a preseason list basically on like who's got the best quarterback, because Carson Beck is in there and Quinn Ewers is up in there and Dylan Gabriel is more accomplished than everybody else. But it just kind of made me a little bit curious when I saw Ohio State and I looked at Will Howard's numbers versus DJ, and I'm like, well, and Ryan Day isn't a considerably better coach than Mike Norvell. And I don't even know if he's a better coach than Mike Norvell. So like that didn't add up all to me, but I guess, I forgot Caleb Downs. That's a pretty important piece. He's like a guaranteed top 15 pick if he doesn't get hurt the next 2 years.
It would seem like it. From Mill Creek High School, the home of Brady Clark.
Represent. Maybe would Brady have bought a Caleb Downs branded like t-shirt, you think, and rocked it?
Yeah, because he was a freshman when Caleb was a senior. So I think there's nothing like now Brady's going to school with kids that are Division I athletes themselves, are going to be. Like he's in there, he's friends with them.
Right.
So that's a little weird, I think. But yeah, I think Brady would. I think Brady could be a hype man.
He's got a lot of civic pride.
But he also could be a great hype man. Like
Turtle?
I've told him that since he was 7. It's like glom on to the really good athletes, man, and just get in that inner circle.
Is he gonna be like Turtle or E?
Oh, E. He better be like E. Nobody needs a turtle. What is he going to drive the kid's car? I'm not about that life. He needs to be E. He needs to be upwardly mobile.
This question might be above your pay grade, Corey, but when's the next edition of the Top 40 dropping? Have you written it yet? Did you compose it?
No, I have not written it. I would assume it's dropping, I would guess Thursday, because it's not dropping. I don't think it's dropping tomorrow. It could, though. It could. I would say today or tomorrow we'll have 25 to 30.
All right. Jameer Watkins didn't go to the NFL or NBA draft, rather.
Neither.
St. John's in Michigan. His options, by the way, everybody, if you're wondering. Traitor. Thanks, Jameer. Thanks for nothing.
Yeah. They could have missed the tournament without you, Jameer.
Don't you miss out on bingo night. Thursday nights over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Physical address. Lunch specials daily from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for only $8.99. Also comes with a side dish of your choosing. And I am staring right, and I'm looking at it right on the menu, Corey. Desserts. I can't believe this. Funnel cake fries, $7.99.
Yeah.
Fried cheesecake, $6.99. Never
had the cheesecake. The funnel cake is good. I like it. I try not to order it, obviously, because body, temple, all that. But yeah, it's really good. Really tasty.
Is the grouper really grouper?
Yeah. It's good, man. And I'm telling you, don't sleep on the burgers. I don't talk about them enough. No. They are grade A restaurant quality. Well, I don't even know what that means. It's a restaurant.
It's half-pound black Angus beef, buddy.
But it's real burgers. It's like the steak. It's like a burger you would get at a steakhouse if you're one of the weirdos that ordered a burger at a steakhouse. Those are the types of burgers they have. It's from the same, food distributor that serves those high-end, not high-end, but I'm not going to name names. A steakhouse you would take a family of 5 to. And one of the kids wants to order a burger off the big boy menu. It would be a burger like this. It is not a kind of burger you normally get at a sports bar. It's really tasty. And I'm there sometimes. You can look me up.
That's right. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Check it out, everybody. Back to that real quick, Corey. One of my buddies when I was in college, we lived together in Indian Village with another one of our buddies, but he worked at one of those steak houses, I guess you would say, like a chain steakhouse that you would take a family of 5 to, and they had these huge tubes of high-end ground beef that they would use for their hamburgers, and they would just chop it. They would chop it up into perfect circles or whatever. But anyhow, I say all that because he would smuggle one of those out of the cooler at work, and we would use those to make burgers for our tailgates in Indian Village, and those burgers did slap back in 2004. I would have said slap if that was the cool thing to say, but I think I would have just said they were fat or they were dope.
Fat, P-H-A-T.
That's correct, yeah.
Pretty hot and tempting.
There we go.
For the young ones that don't know, that didn't know that was an acronym.
Florida State playing baseball this weekend, kind of a big one. Super regional on the line, another trip to Omaha, Nebraska for the Brass Ring, which I've never really been a fan of saying that, but I just remember Tom Hart's call when they beat LSU in that walk-off win. And he's like, Mike Martin, another shot at the Brass Ring.
Oh, nice.
So it was very cool. But they're going to be taking on UConn, Corey. They made it successfully out of the Norman region, taking out number 9 seed Oklahoma. And on the surface, you're like, UConn, whatever. Man, this guy, Jim Penders, that's been there now for 20-plus years. They've only had 5 coaches all time at UConn.
Yeah, what's Florida State at? That's probably the same amount Florida State's had, right?
Nah, man, I think we had 3 or 4 guys before we had 11.
Yeah, that's probably true, yeah.
But it's absurd. I think this is the 3rd super regional he's led them to, and the 2nd in the last 3 years. They've been making it to regionals quite consistently here. So, sneaky good team. Obviously, I think Florida State, the home crowd, again, it's a Friday, Saturday, if necessary, Sunday split. They'll play noon Friday, ESPN. I think all their games are on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. Game 2 will be at 11 a.m., though.
Yeah.
We have not spoken yet to Link Jarrett, so we'll try to here soon. I'm guessing we'll probably speak to him on Thursday as well to get an idea of his thoughts on who he's going to start, when he's going to start his pitchers. But shouldn't go. I don't want to be overconfident going to this one, but I'm confident. But I don't think we should be overconfident thinking that this is an absolute toss-up, give me layup,
No, because, for those that don't follow college baseball that much, we all remember what happened to Florida State in the ACC championship game. They got demolished by Duke. And obviously they were out of pitching, but they still got demolished. That same Duke team scored exactly 1 run in the regional opener against UConn. They lost 4-1 to UConn. Then the next game, against number 9 seed Oklahoma, which was also almost a top 8 national seed, on their home field, Oklahoma scored 1 run. And then in the final game on Monday, the winner-take-all game on Monday, against Oklahoma again on their home field at night with a trip to the Supers on the line, Oklahoma again scored 1 run. So know that going in, UConn can really pitch. Have they seen an offense like Florida State's? No, probably not. And they're probably not all that excited that James Tibbs just went a whole weekend without getting a hit, because that probably, good hitters they don't stay down for long. So Tibbs might be ready to break out. But, man, they are not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. They are not going to be overwhelmed by the talent. I mean, they played a tough schedule. It's Big East. I mean, obviously they're not playing a tough schedule in conference. But out of conference, they scheduled some really good teams. So they've seen this. And like you said, this isn't their first rodeo. And this is their third super regional. They were there 2 years ago, Aslan. In 22, UConn was in the super regional and won the first game against Stanford. So they won't – sometimes you'll get a team where it seems like they might be overwhelmed. Like I kind of thought – the last time Florida State hosted a super, they got lucky that Sam Houston State came in. And they swept them. And Sam Houston State had a lead in that first game. I think Niaporte hit into a triple play, which I'd never seen before. But I think by the end of that weekend, Sam Houston State just kind of got overwhelmed by the moment, the crowd, the talent they were dealing with, the stage, to a degree. That ain't happening with UConn. You might beat them. You're probably top to bottom, you're more talented than they are. But they got a lot of old dudes. They got 9 grad transfers, 9 Division III grad transfers, by the way, and they can really pitch it and they can really play defense. That's my quick scouting report on UConn. Plus, it's baseball, man. Like Indiana wasn't supposed to. Florida State fans were happy they got Indiana, whenever that was, a decade ago now, to come into the regional, and they got swept. We've seen it, man. We've seen how all this works. Baseball's a funky, weird game, and you only got to win 2 out of 3 to get to Omaha. They don't have to play Florida State 50 times. They only got to beat them twice, and that can certainly happen. I'm just a big fan of that morning start.
11
Get your day going. By 3 o'clock, you can be back at the house doing yard work. Isn't that what everybody wants to do after a big win?
Hey, I'm not going to lie. After that Stetson game, that was pretty cool. Like on a Friday, I came home at like 3:30, and I'm like, I worked today. I did like a legitimate day's work, not a full 8 hours like you hardworking folks. But I'm like, I did my role for my company, and now I have like the rest of the day to myself.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that Link has no problem with it. Maybe they asked Link for his thoughts, and he's like, yes, if they give us an option, and I don't know that ESPN does this, but if they give us an option, I want early as possible. That might be what he wants. Otherwise, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? And I'm not just talking about Florida State. Florida and Clemson are playing their first 2 games at 2 in the afternoon. Like, it's college baseball. It's a niche sport.
Niche,
however we want to say it.
Fine.
Let them play home night games. They don't all have to be televised. It's not like you're bringing in huge numbers for these college baseball games when real Major League Baseball is going on and being played a lot that day. Why not just have them play whenever they want to play? Why? Like TV, this isn't college football where TV runs everything and you're getting a lot of TV dollars from your college football content. This is college baseball, man. You haven't broadcast any games all year on your big network. Now that you do it, you have to have Florida State, one of the Blue Bloods, play a potential either season-saving game or an Omaha clinching game at 11 in the morning? For what? So we can get more tack glasses ads? Like, I just don't understand this mindset. And I kind of wish, like I said, I'm not even joking now at this point, whoever runs that lightning detector, it needs to just be, I don't care what the weather is, you need to detect some lightning somewhere and delay that thing until 6 o'clock. That's all I'm saying, Aslan. It just doesn't make sense. No. Like, we got to get them all on the ESPN or ESPN2. To what end? Who cares?
Like, I know. I don't think they didn't bid high for this TV rights for these properties. It's like they have to make their money back on it. It's just like,
that's what I'm saying. So what's the point? And if there are a couple games that are being played simultaneously, oh well. If somebody really wants to watch the Florida State UConn game, they will find a way to watch it on your streaming service or on ESPN News or wherever else you put it. I can't imagine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the ratings will be through the roof. I just can't imagine Florida State UConn at 11 in the morning is doing a lot of viewership around the country, enough to make Florida State have to host an 11 a.m. game. Yeah. Like, I just wish Florida State would say, no, we're not doing that. What are you going to do, sue us? We're not doing that, ESPN. We are going to play at 6 o'clock. Please have ESPN Plus here so the people around the country that can watch it. But or like I said, that's why Link might have wanted this. But there's a chance the Tallahassee Regional could be over, completely over, before Florida and Clemson have thrown their first pitch.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. He's not lying.
Yeah, because the game could be over at 2 p.m. on Saturday. The series could be over, and Florida and Clemson are playing at 2:30 on Saturday. Who cares? They don't all have to be standalone games, Aslan. That's all I'm saying.
So they're either Friday, Saturday, Sundays, or they're Saturday, Sunday, Mondays, and Florida State's got the Friday, Saturday split. So also Knoxville is on that same days. So is Charlottesville. So is Chapel Hill. And
so what are those days? What are those games?
I mean, Tennessee's the...
No, what are the times? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 3 p.m. for Tennessee on game one. They do play 11 a.m. the same time as Florida State, so they're actually going to be going concurrently on ESPN and ESPN2.
What are we doing? What are we doing, Aslan? Anyway, go ahead. What are the other ones?
Virginia gets K-State at 7 o'clock on Friday night, 3 p.m. on Saturday.
Okay.
You're a higher seed than they are.
Right.
And North Carolina, West Virginia goes 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Though North Carolina is a higher-ranked team than you are, if you want to look at it.
Yeah, but I don't, like, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason.
Right,
You think it's not, again, the ratings for North Carolina, West Virginia aren't going to be significantly higher whether they're played at 6 o'clock or 3 o'clock, just like Florida State UConn would. I just feel like for the home team that earned a super regional, having fans show up in a morning game, a morning baseball game with Omaha potentially on the line. Well, Omaha will be on the line for one of the teams. It's just bizarre and weird, and I don't like it. And I don't think college baseball needs to kowtow to a network that doesn't pay a lot of money for this content, and you don't deliver a lot of ratings for it. Just play when you want to play, and if they want to broadcast it, they can broadcast it. That said, it will be mighty hot for a team from Storrs, Connecticut. And you figure that could bode well for you if you're playing these afternoon games. I just don't like the thought of, like, Jamie Arnold being gassed after 4 innings because it's 1,000,000 degrees. Yeah. So that's all. Well, that and the fans are going to be really hot too. And I'm nothing if not a voice of the fans, Aslan.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's my role. That's why I do what I do with video boards, and that's why I do what I do with start times. So maybe there'll be some weather that sneaks in and they push the games back. But how would ESPN react to that? They just don't broadcast it?
All right, so I don't know, 4 months ago, we spoke to Link Jarrett to kind of get a feel for what his team was going to be like going into the season, Corey, and I was very cynical about what they were going to be probably, but still unrealistically optimistic but demanding that at least get back to a super regional. Like, just do it, man. I don't care. Figure out a way.
Yeah,
and you had James Tibbs, and you had Cam Smith, and you figure Jamie Arnold is going to be really good. And it's sad when you go back and hear him talk about. He's like, yeah, so we're going to have Cam Leiter go on Fridays, Jamie Arnold on Saturdays, and Connor Whitaker on Sundays. And you're like, golly, that would have been just absolutely bananas right now. But he talked about guys like Max Williams, said thunderous, left-handed bat, and then he talked about Marco Dinges, a kid that apparently had been at TCC. I think for some brief moment had been committed to Maryland. And that's some pretty high praise to say about him. And you're like, yeah, this might just be a coach trying to gas up any dwindling interest in his, alma mater's baseball program that he's cratered. But Marco Dinges has turned out to be a really good baseball player for the team, Corps, and he's got a pretty remarkable story that we kind of happenstance found out about during our interview the other day.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I hope you guys listen to it. I think it's at the end of the show. But he's been obviously for Jaime Ferrer, Cam Smith, and James Tibbs have all been better than they've ever been. But you knew they were going to be that's a pretty good trio to start the year. That's a pretty solid 1, 2, 3 in a lineup as far as your best hitters. Dinges came out of nowhere and he is right in the middle of those three. And he fit right in. He hits to all fields. He hits the ball hard all the time. He's always looking to do damage, as Link said. And it's just he's been one of these wild cards that you had. He's the guys like him are the reason they're still playing. They're in the Super Regionals. Like they had Cam and James Tibbs and Ferrer last year, and the offense was horrible. Adding guys like Max Williams and Dingus, those are the two biggest ones. Lodis and Farrow have certainly had their moments. So has Jackson West, but and Cantu. Those are all solid college baseball players. Max Williams and Dingus are like almost star baseball players. They are really, really impactful bats. So now instead of just having 3 in your lineup, you have 5 to start every game. And then Cantu, Farrow, Lodis, like I said, they've all had their moments. But Dingus, right, he fits right in with that trio. Oh, yeah. Like he's not out of place batting cleanup on that team. He's really darn good. He is a really, really good college baseball hitter. Yeah. I don't say player only because he doesn't play in the field. You know what I mean? Like maybe next year, hopefully he's still here. Next year they can find a spot for him to play in the field. But he's been dynamite as a DH this year.
Yeah. So unbutton maybe 1 or 2 buttons on your shirt, everybody.
Oh, I was like, what in the world is he about to say?
And relax and sit back and listen to Corey Clark and myself interviewing Marco Dingus. We got Marco Dingus here, everybody. Marco, just so you know, the group text is claiming you as East Lake High School's own. I went there. But do you claim Virginia? Do you claim New York? Or are you a Florida boy now?
No, yeah, I got to go with my New York roots. I lived 15 years there. And then Virginia was only 1 year and Tampa was 1. So I got to go with the New York roots.
All right,
why did you move to can you tell people about your backstory? Like, why did you move to Virginia? Why did you move to Florida? How did you get
of course. Here? So my sophomore year, my brother lived in Washington, D.C. So my parents wanted to move closer to my brother. So we moved to Leesburg, Virginia. And that's when COVID hit. So COVID hits my junior year. They canceled the season pretty early there. And one of my best friends named Patrick actually played at TCC with me last year. His whole family moved to Florida. So I went to go live with him for about 4 months. And then my family followed down and we moved to Tampa. So we kind of followed him over to Florida.
Was it just to play? Was it for you so you could play high school baseball? Was that
correct. It was just so I'd keep playing. So my dad was willing to risk it for me. So it was just so I'd keep playing baseball. So I kind of went to go live with him for a little bit.
Is this how you kind of maybe ended up at Florida State through the path that you did, Marco? Did you kind of get lost in the shuffle of recruiting because of the move and things like that?
No, definitely. So my senior year, I only had one offer, and that was TCC. So Corey Pye over at TCC recruited me to TCC, and he got me over here. And then originally I was committed to Maryland, but I got sick, unfortunately, this summer. So I had to spend pretty much my whole summer and half the season in the hospital. And I was willing to get an offer from Rich Wallace. So I took a walk-on spot actually to Florida State, and then it all paid off.
Wait a second. You were committed to Maryland out of TCC?
Yeah, out of TCC. I was originally committed to Maryland.
What? And you don't have to get into specifics if you don't want. I'm not trying to delve into your personal life, but how sick were you in the sense that were you worried that you wouldn't play baseball again? Why would Maryland pull an offer because you're sick?
Well, so yeah, they didn't pull an offer. I was having a really good sophomore season. I was getting a lot more interest and a lot better offers. So me and my family decided that it's best to decommit. We're going to look for better options. Okay. Obviously, Florida State was one of the options I was looking at the time. But about a couple weeks later, I got a thing called HLH disease. So originally I didn't know, but it cut halfway through my season, and then I was done for pretty much the whole summer. So then I was just really fortunate to get an offer from Florida State to come play.
And obviously, I don't know anything about it. Were you bedridden? Could you work out? You clearly
no. Yeah, I was completely done. I was in a hospital bed. So funny enough, I just found this out. I was in a hospital bed for 43 days. And Funny enough, my number is 43, which I got a random number. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Very, very interesting. So, yeah.
When was this? When are we talking about? When did this happen?
Yeah, this is about, I would say, beginning of summer. I want to say around like this time a year ago. I was in the hospital. So, yeah, they didn't know I had HLH disease at the time, which is like it's when your red and white blood cells eat itself, so you're never getting better. So I just had constant fevers, and I was just constantly sick. So, yeah. It was a pretty brutal time, and I didn't really know how my baseball career was going to go. But once I got out that hospital, I was willing to work. I have a guy at TCC named Corey Figueroa, and he helped me out tremendously. I credit him to everything, honestly, because he worked with me about 8 to 9 hours a day to get in shape because I couldn't even do a push-up. And I had a month until FSU started, so we had to figure it out quick.
I feel like at that point, Marco, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to bet on myself because I don't know how my health is going to hold up. But
yeah,
what made you believe in yourself and want to take the walk-on offer at Florida State over anything else?
No, yeah. So definitely, I had some mid majors, but I wanted to really challenge myself. I mean, this is where I wanted to be, Florida State. I wanted to stay in Tallahassee. I love the coaching staff and I love what they do here. I love the fans, and my dad and I. That became our dream school once I came to TCC. So that was the ultimate goal: was let's get to Florida State and let's prove everyone wrong, because obviously it's tough coming in sick. No one really knew how I was going to perform, but it all paid off. I had a really good fall. I'm very blessed. So now here we are.
And you said TCC was your only offer coming out of high school?
Yes, sir. That was my only offer.
How did they find you? How did they know about you? And were you not, obviously I guess you weren't as good back then as you are now? Like how did you get missed?
Yeah, so actually I don't know how. I mean, I was a 450 hitter in high school.
Okay.
I put up this pretty good numbers, but no one ever really was interested. I guess no one ever shot their shot, but I have a really good coach at Eastlake, was Coach Roper, and he was shooting schools out left and right, telling people to get me. And Corey Pye was like, let's do it. And he was the only guy that really – I actually didn't sign my papers until like 2 days before the deadline because I didn't really know how it worked. So I signed my papers so late, and then I didn't even know what Tallahassee was at the time because I'm from New York. So I didn't even know like the Florida State or anything.
So were you thinking like 2 days before? I'm gonna guess that's like in the middle of August.
Yeah, it was so late. It was.
Were you thinking, am I gonna play baseball next year? Was that like a real possibility that you didn't have a place to play?
I had nowhere to go, and I just risked it. I mean, I had such a good senior year too, and I was kind of confused what was going on, but I just trusted the process. I was just gonna keep working, and then I was super blessed for Corey Pye to give me an opportunity.
So 3 months ago, before the season starts, Marco, we get to sit down with your head coach, Link Jarrett, and he kind of walks us through his entire lineup, how he likes the pitching. He calls Max Williams a thunderous bat from the left side of the plate. And then he wants to brag on a guy named Marco Dinges, who, Marco, I'd not heard of you really much 3 months ago, and this is what he had to say about you. I want you to listen in.
Marco Dinges, for those of you that have watched, it is lightning bat speed. There's strength there. There's damage intent when he's at the plate. So it's fun. Like, it's a fun at bat to watch, right-handed hitter.
I don't play baseball, but I would love if somebody said that I had damage intent when I went up to the plate. Is that accurately kind of describe your style?
No, yeah, that's my goal, is to do damage. And he's 100% right. And that's my job, especially with Tibbs in front of me. I mean, I want to score as many if he doesn't score them in front at first. But my job's to do damage and score some runs. And, that's definitely the goal.
Were you born like that? Like when you first started swinging a bat, every kid when they're 5 wants to swing and hit it. But were you one of those kids when you're 7 and 8? You were disappointed if you got walked? You were disappointed if you didn't hit it over the fence?
No, yeah, I was definitely one of those kids. I always had really good hand speed and bat speed, so I always was able to hit the ball far at a young age. And then, funny enough, when I got sick, I gained a lot of weight because I was like 170 at junior college. Like, I was small. I could still hit the ball pretty hard, but it really showed this fall, like that extra mass and everything really helped me tremendously. So yeah, sum it up. Yeah.
Is that you've been around enough baseball players in your life, and people get tired of me asking this stuff because I have a son that's a 15-year-old baseball player. He ain't you. We talked to Tibbs, and I told him he's not James Tibbs either, obviously, but I think some guys are like born with a mindset of, I'm going to damage that baseball. If they come near me, some guys just want to put it in play. But you seem like one of those guys that was just born to murder baseballs. It's
definitely a mental thing. I've always wanted to hit the long ball, and I've grown up, my favorite players have been, like Ronald Acuna, Bryce Harper. They hit the long ball.
Right.
It's just that's the most fun part of baseball, I feel like, in my opinion. And that's what I want to do as frequent as possible, obviously. But it's to definitely do damage. Definitely with the mindset, I want to be up with the bases loaded. I want to be up with the game on the line. That type of mindset.
Marco, you talk about the mass that you added. I mean, I don't know, counterintuitively, that's obviously sounds like a good thing to put on mass, but I don't know how that affects the torque you can put on your upper body and your bat speed. Were you nervous at all when you got out of the hospital, stepped on a scale, saw what you weighed at, and thought maybe you would lose some of that stuff? Or were you just so confident with what you were doing in the weight room that you knew it was going to pay off?
No, yeah, I was so I was very heavy. Like I was really, really out of shape when I got to the hospital. So I went from so at a point in the hospital I was 155. So I went from 155 to 195 in about a month and a half span. And that's just because I was on the prednisone, which makes you eat so much, and I was so hungry all the time. So I got out the hospital, and like I was saying, I couldn't even do a push-up. So it was kind of just to prove myself wrong type thing, or just really, really motivated to just I stayed in the weight room, I stayed a healthy diet, and then it all paid off. Even in the beginning of the fall, I was still very out of shape, but now where I'm at right now, I'm where I want to be.
So you're saying, I'm just trying to get the timeline right. In June of 2023, so 11 months ago, you couldn't do a push-up.
No, sir. Yeah, I couldn't do a push-up.
But did you have a spot on the Florida State team?
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through like how you got offered the walk-on spot? And, some kids try out, some kids get a walk-on. They can't pay for a lot of people because there's 40 of you and there's only 11 scholarships. So can you kind of walk us through how Link talked to you, what the spot was offered, and how that all materialized?
Most definitely. So I was talking to Rich Wallace at the time, and I was trying to I didn't tell them they didn't know I was in the hospital at the time. They kind of knew I was sick though, because they're very close to Brian Henry over at TCC.
Yeah.
So they're close to him. They kind of got a quick rundown, but they were like, Brian Henry was kind of just begging that they could just give me an opportunity, just give me a chance. And Rich was interested in me in the fall because he came over to our practices and he'd watch me. So he was already interested, but I committed to Maryland very, very early in that fall. So when I was sick, they kind of knew I was sick. They knew I wasn't playing, but they didn't know the really extreme it was. Because obviously if a coach heard the extreme, they probably would be like, he's got no chance to play next year. So kind of swooped it a little bit under the rug. But when I committed to Florida State, I was in the hospital bed. So it helped me a lot because at the time I was definitely hurting mentally. But when they gave me an opportunity, I was very motivated. So. But
when you showed up, were you like worried? Like, man, I'm not myself right now.
So, yeah, I had a month left, and then Jamie Burleson, our strength and conditioning coach, would do sleds with me. And Andrew Duncan, a freshman, was like, come on, man, what's going on? Like, come on, we're out working you, because I was so out of shape and so behind. So I got to work a month before the season started, and I just trained every day with them, and they kind of pushed me to get back in shape.
You're at where you're at, Marco, because of your confidence and your belief in yourself. So I'm going to ask you this. I kind of already know the answer, but did you expect you would be hitting – 4-hole in a team that's going to the regionals behind Cam Smith and James Hibb III?
No, yeah, not at all. But funny enough, those guys, they motivate you, man. Even Jaime, like those three, that's a core group right there. It pushed me and Max to really perform. I mean, especially the whole team, I feel like they feel the same way. But me and Max were just talking about it. You want to kind of stay with those core three right there, those big hitters. So it pushes you to succeed even more. And that's how our team kind of kept building. It's like we got to keep up with Tibbs, Smith, Frere, keep hitting like them. And then overall, the team will succeed, and that's what kind of showed recently.
So I assume now you're stronger than you've ever been.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's the hardest I've ever hit balls, and I don't think my exit velo has ever been so high. That's
what I was going to ask, man. Like, when are you? Because they got the TrackMan. So for the people that don't know, every swing y'all take at a practice and a scrimmage, you get to see the exit velo. You get to see the launch angle, the spin rate, all that craziness. When you're starting to see 104, 108, 111. Are you like, oh my gosh, this is who is this? Where did this come from? And how exciting is that? How exciting is that?
It's awesome. Especially when you hit the other day, I hit a single at like 110. You get to see on the scoreboard, you see 110. It's like it's just a single, but then it's like, dang, I hit that one pretty hard. So it gives you a little confidence boost for the next AB for sure. No, we love the TrackMan. We love the data, because especially at junior college, you don't have any of that data. So I don't even know how hard I used to hit balls.
But in the fall, is that when you started to when you're practicing in the fall, are you starting to see those exit velos go to the point where you're like, okay, I'm hitting it as hard as anyone on the team, and I'm playing with first rounders?
No, 100%. I mean, I know at Alabama is the hardest ball I've ever hit. Versus this big lefty, hit a ball 113. I've never even hit a ball above 110. So it's like a shell shock. You're like, wow. And then you just keep hitting balls just as hard, and you're like, you just keep progressing. And I credit a lot to Jamie Burleson. He's a great strength conditioning coach for us. So he helped me tremendously too.
Marco, a lot of the credit for the success of this team, obviously, is the head coach, Link Jarrett. You obviously weren't doing well in real life here a year ago, and this baseball team wasn't doing really well a year ago, but he obviously saw something in you to give you an opportunity. Can you talk about maybe like the reputation Link Jarrett had before you actually stepped on campus here? Like you and your father, when you're talking about recruiting, like, did you know about Link? Is there a certain kind of energy or reputation that he has that really opened your eyes to what Florida State could be under him?
No, most definitely. I mean, Brian Henry said he's the best coach out there in any program, and now that I've played a whole season with him and we're still going, it's 100% true. He's by far the best coach you could probably play for. He knows so much about the game, and he teaches you so much throughout the game, which makes us as better players, obviously. But he has that reputation that he's the best coach, and it stands. I think he's gonna, even in the future, this program is only going to go up.
Now,
and he turned it around tremendously.
And Marco, this is not a shot at TCC. That is a very good program. They've produced a ton of really good baseball players. But those crowds for those games, I mean, I don't know. Are there 40 people there? 12?
Yeah, you get 20 to 30, and most of them are scouts. So it's a way different atmosphere.
How did you adjust to I don't know, maybe the first game against Butler, but like a midweek game against Florida or a weekend game against Miami? How do you adjust to that when you've never played in front of that kind of crowd before?
No, yeah, I feel like you start to learn throughout the year. So I think the first game of the season's everyone's kind of jittery. Even the guys coming back are a little jittery. You can tell Tibbs, and they're like, but it's excitement jittery. It's like you want to prove to them what you've shown in the fall. And our team was, I mean, tremendous in the fall. We put up monstrous numbers. So we were more excited to play in front of them because we could show what we have done. So it's kind of a nervous excitement. But as the year comes on, we're used to it. We love it. I mean, these fans are the best in the game. I mean, you can't get any better, that's for sure. And they support you 100%. So it's fun to play in front of a crowd.
We talked to Tibbs, what was that, Aslan? A couple weeks ago, I think we talked to Tibbs and asked him about the personality of this team. You know, he seems like a kind of reserved guy. Like he'll do a celebration when he gets the second. But he's not shit talking the second baseman at Miami after he gets the home run. He's not standing and watching a ball until it clears the fence at home plate like Max does. Where did this? Because you were all a collection of guys from other places. So how did this kind of find itself where you guys just celebrate like that, act like that, behave like that in a baseball game?
It's just so much confidence. I mean, it's a confident team, that's for sure. You can't get any more confident. We know every guy behind us is just as good as the guy in front of us. So when you have that kind of lineup and that kind of atmosphere, especially your pitching staff, I mean, they're doing great. And when we know they're on the mound, it's a confident team. They know that if they hit the long ball, they got the dude right behind them to back them up. And we feed off that energy. We feed off the excitement. The crowd loves it. So, I mean, when Max hit that home run the other day, it was like game over. The other team they're done. The fans are going ballistic. We only feed off of it more, and that's the kind of team you want to be a part of. That's for sure.
My last question for you, Marco. We know UConn's coming to town for a shot at making it to the College World Series. I think there's probably only one coach in the country that would know better to not overlook a team just because they're from a cold weather climate, state like Connecticut. You being from New York, I'm sure you kind of have maybe a chip on your shoulder. Just how easy will it be to take serious a team like UConn that's been in a super 2 years ago, and just maybe because they're not from the SEC or down south, doesn't mean they're not going to be a legitimate chance and a challenge rather for you guys?
No, most definitely. We got to come in here with the same mindset as any other team. If it's Tennessee, it doesn't matter what team it is. We have to come in here and do our job because they can easily beat us, and everyone knows that's baseball. So we're coming in here to do our job and get this place wild up, get the fans ready and ready to put on a show. That's for sure.
And Marco, I wanted to ask you, well, two things. Number one, are you a Mets or Yankees fan?
I'm a Mets fan.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know.
Man,
I appreciate it. That's why luckily the Seminoles are doing well because my dad would not be having it.
And then when it comes to this season, honestly, when you're here in the fall and you're starting to hit and you're starting to prove, are you just trying to get in the lineup? Are you hoping for some at-bats? I know we touched on this a little bit, but are you thinking like, I don't know, October of 2023, like I should probably be hitting cleanup for the Florida State Seminoles? Like, is that a thought that's going through your mind? When did you convince yourself, man, I'm good enough not only to be here, but to be a star here? When did that really happen?
No, yeah. I want to say in the beginning of the fall, it was always just to prove myself wrong, prove everyone else wrong, because I was always underlooked. So I wanted to be the best hitter here. That was my goal. I knew these other guys were superstars, obviously studs, but my goal was to be the best hitter here and obviously be in that lineup and perform at the highest level.
Oh, one more. You've had to face Jamie Arnold, I assume, in inter squads.
Yeah.
What's that like? What is that? What is that?
No,
it's
that not
feeling?
a fun. It's not a fun AB, especially when he throws 97 in the hands.
Right.
We've had some really, really good ABs, me and him. Sometimes I've gotten lucky once. I swung first pitch heater, got a base up the middle, but then he got me the next AB. He did a 3-2 slider on me, and I still nag him about it this day, throwing a 3-2 slider. But
now,
yeah, he struck me out.
When he strikes his teammates out, does he dismiss them like he does?
No, he's actually the nicest guy in the fall, that's for sure. He's a good teammate because if he was doing that to us, it would be pretty embarrassing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Marco Dingus and the Noles taking on UConn for a shot at the College World Series. Starts Friday at Dick Hauser Stadium at noon. It'll be on ESPN. I don't know, was it all right that I had all my buttons buttoned up? Marco,
keep it going. Keep it going down. Let's go.
Show it all. Show it
off.
Hey, can we get James Hibbs and maybe go back to Suavemente, or we're just going to trust in the process?
I told him the other day, I think it's time to go Suavemente. Let's get that swagger back.
That's right. That's right.
Marco Dingus, everybody. Thanks so much, man. Glad to hear you're in better health, and thanks for making this baseball program be in a much better spot this year around. Thanks so much, Marco.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you,
Marco. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you. Take care. I really appreciate it.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Renegade Express mailbag thread is going to be posted on the Tribal Council as you're listening to this. Jump in there, get a question, help us generate discussion sparked by Cummins. We'll actually we'll give some stuff away, Corey. We're going to do the drawing for the monthly swag bag giveaway during the show. So tune in for that. See if you won. And if you don't win, it's okay. You'll be entered into the grand prize drawing at the end of the year for the generator or the portable power station. But get your questions in so you can be part of the mixture for the June winners coming up. So yeah, Corey, good show out of you. Let's do it again tomorrow. And keep working. Have you gotten under the bar yet? Like anything? Did you do any bench press since we last talked?
I did, but it's at a gym up here in Atlanta by my house, which is just infested with 20-year-olds. And I went at a time of day where it was like a traffic jam of 20-year-olds. So I got on the bench and I got up to 205. Did it a couple of times, and then I was like, I see this guy over here. He's got his big jug of water. He's waiting. He's being polite, but he's hovering. And then I just went down and like repped out like 155 like 10 or 12 times and was done. But yeah, I didn't do exactly what I wanted to. And also Brady won't go to that gym with me because too many of the kids at his high school go there.
What, does he want to be seen with his dad, or just doesn't want to be?
I just think he doesn't want to be working out around girls that go to his school and guys that are football players that probably intimidate this 15-year-old sophomore a little bit. So
I get it.
We go to another one, but yeah, it's I threw pitches to him on Tuesday too for the first time in a while.
Some velo on it, some
no,
uprise?
I didn't risk it.
Okay.
I think it's in there though, Aslan. I think I got a little chance to get a velo bat, maybe get up into the 50s, and then see if he can hit that. See if he can hit his old man. But yeah, the shoulder feels as good as it's felt in years, man. Years. I still feel it a little bit, but it's not debilitating pain like it was. So the magic of modern medicine.
All right. Glad to hear it. All right, that's a wrap for us. Hop in the thread, post your questions. We'll do a big mailbag. It's probably going to be a lot of football, too, so hit the thumbs up for that being on the horizon. He's Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks again to Marco Dingus for hopping on. You've been listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.